Mark Carney severs our relationship with America? Can he even do that? Nobody's showing up for Jagmeet Singh. PPC is per usual gaslighting, and Pierre Poilievre is not doing so great in the polls, but we're going to look at his rallies and see if you guys see a difference there. Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie AB. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I am here every day, even on weekends, for your election coverage that you're not seeing on the mainstream media, right? I am honest, and I am pretty biased right now because Canada is in a place where I believe that if the Liberals win this next election, Canada will not be the same ever again. So I'm not going to lie to you guys there. But yeah, that's my little intro. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. Do you ever just look at these millionaire Liberals and say, who do you think you are? Because that's how I felt watching Mark Carney yesterday. As a acting prime minister, whatever it's called, I'm sorry, sir, who do you think you are cutting ties with America? And that's the thing, is that Mark Carney does absolutely know how much our economies are intertwined with America and how much we need them. And how could you ever think it would be okay to not have an alliance with a part of our country that looks like it should be in America anyways? Have you guys looked at a map? Southern Ontario looks like it should be America. Most of our cities are on the borders. Most of our occupation of people is on the literal border of Canada and America. I have no idea what diluted land these people live in that we wouldn't have a relationship. When you look at Niagara Falls, you're looking at America. I always thought, with the first time with Trump, with the whole wall thing, when I had Trump derangement syndrome, I always thought it was hilarious because I was like, what if he tries to put a wall in between Niagara Falls? That could be a reality now. What are these people thinking? I don't know what type of 4D checkers that they are playing, but it is our lives that are at stake here, okay? They will all be fine. They will all be comfortable in their houses, never have any debt. And if they do have debt, somehow it's allowed to just go away. I'm telling you guys, these people do not care about us. And you know what? Pierre Poilievre could get in and prove me wrong, okay? And break our trust and go with WEF and screw us all over too. But Mark Carney is like the godfather of this plan, okay? And Pierre Poilievre is our only shot at normalcy in Canada, okay? But at the same time, I do genuinely feel like Pierre Poilievre needs to go with the first thing that he did. Everybody ignored that. I feel like everybody acted like Liberals for a week there, where they were like, I can't believe Pierre Poilievre is doing this, and this. Pierre Poilievre's first part of that speech was, I am going to try to mend relationships with the United States of America, but if that doesn't happen, we need to make Canada strong. And even before that, we need to put Canada first, as he has been saying for years. He has been advocating for our pipelines, for jobs to be in Canada for forever, okay? So I know that he's serious when he says stuff like that. I've watched Mark Carney. I've actually watched Pierre Poilievre drill Mark Carney about not letting us have pipelines, but Mark Carney's company invests in pipelines in like Brazil and stuff. I've watched Pierre Poilievre grill him on that, okay? Pierre Poilievre is our last, I don't know. When I picture all of these things, I can picture what our lives would look like if the Liberals come in, okay? Communism, it's why I moved to a place where even if I am in communism, I live by a freaking waterfall, okay? A waterfall in fresh water. The world's biggest reserves of fresh water. That's where I moved. She be thinking. She be 10 steps ahead. Anyways, the more I look into Mark Carney, I don't know if I can read his book somewhere, but I don't have his book yet, but I'm going to try to read it this weekend. The more I look into this man, the more I'm like, are you the godfather of the climate change initiative, or just sitting at the round table with all of them deciding that this is our future now? Because it sure seems to me like Mark Carney has been the puppeteer, And I hate to stick up for Justin Trudeau. I don't want to stick up for Justin Trudeau in the slightest, okay? But Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago. I respected Trudeau for that. There's not many times where and Mark Carney won't even get on the fucking phone with him. What do you mean you won't get on the phone with him? Is that because he thinks that that's going to win the election? Do you really think cutting off ties and if they cut off ties, Canadians will lose their jobs at rapid pace. Canadians will lose their jobs at rapid pace. And I'm not so sure that that's going to win the election. Can they call an Emergencies Act during the election? I have no idea. It really makes me nervous. These are our lives. And you know what? I always try to not be upset about things when they're happening. But when you know that your livelihood literally depends on this, and when you moved up north already so that you wouldn't have to rely on the government, if they locked us down because you know that your husband would work in an essential job, well, what happens if those essential jobs are gone? What happens if America decides to pull back all of their companies that are in Canada and we're just shit? Do you know that most American companies own the mines here? An American company owns Canada's Wonderland. I don't know what else to say other than we have to have a relationship with America, and we need someone to be able to talk to Trump. Now, do I think Mark Carney is that guy? No. Do I think Pierre Poilievre is that guy? Yes, I do. Why? Because I have seen Pierre Poilievre drill people in news things. He's actually very impressive, and I could see him having conversations with Trump. I can't even talk about it or think about it because it just would affect Canadians' lives so much that until we see what actually is happening, I'm going to just take a step back and take a breather, and you should too. But I'm reporting on it because we should all know what's going on. And if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it in the comments, but just try. If you live in Northern Ontario, you cannot touch grass. But if you live in Southern Ontario, please do me a favor and go touch grass because I cannot. Okay? And it is still really cold up here. So anyways, we're going to move on. To NDP NDP not having any support, because this is, I don't know how many more days I can tell you guys that NDP are losing support, but I knew that they would. I cannot believe that Jagmeet Singh has still not gotten it through his head that he is the reason why this is happening. Sir, and it actually makes me so mad because Jack Layton worked really hard to gain our trust only for Jagmeet Singh to unravel it. And I have been mad about that for a long time. And seeing it happen in the polls even makes me even more mad. Because if the NDP had a different person, I guarantee that you guys would see Mark Carney not in the polls at all. Unless they're completely fabricated, which I a little bit believe. And then we have the PPC. The PPC. What am I going to do with you guys? The amount of people that I see who act like liberals from the PPC, you guys I'm getting sick and tired of it. Do you know what's not going to get you guys votes? Calling people who are voting for conservatives stupid. Yeah. And telling us that Pierre Poilievre has done nothing for us. Pierre Poilievre is the only person who has tried to put through a bill in the House of Commons to end vaccine mandates. His team is also the only one that has been against digital ID. They're the only ones that have been for our bodily autonomy when it comes to companies wanting to buy our DNA from the government. Okay? I don't know what planet these PPC people live on. Actually, I do. They hear a bunch of stuff about Pierre Poilievre, and then they repeat it and don't actually look into it for themselves, because yesterday I seen someone say, these CPCers are going against their own interests when they vote for Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre is the only one who has stuck up for us, and I'm about to prove it right now.
Dre learned about the trucker convoy on CBC, like other liberals, and he misrepresented them. He believes that I should be censored. He believes I should be canceled from this leadership race and disqualified, in his words, because I don't share his liberal viewpoint. That is the kind of cancel culture and censorship you would expect from Justin Trudeau, but instead we're getting it from this liberal on this stage. And frankly, Mr. Charest, for you to talk about law and order is a little bit rich, given that your party, your Liberal Party, took $500,000 of illegal donations when you were the head of that party. The average trucker has more integrity in his pinky finger than you had in your entire scandal-plagued Liberal cabinet.
And so, I don't mean to be rude, but if you're one of those people who are part of the PPC saying stuff like this, it just looks ignorant, because he has been sticking up for the convoy for vaccine mandates. He's literally been in the House of Commons. The Liberals put together a hit piece, which is, it's not a hit piece to me, of him literally dragging them for doing what they did to us. Okay, hold on.
Divisive and unscientific vaccine mandates. The unscientific vaccine mandates. An unscientific mandate of vaccine vendetta. We will fight tooth and nail to put a permanent end to vaccine mandates and other oppressive actions by the government that take away people's medical freedoms.
And so I present to you proof. Can you prove to me that Maxime Bernier has done anything to make sure that that doesn't happen to us? Oh, wait. He doesn't have a seat in the House of Commons. Isn't that strange? You know what's so strange about it too is that, here, I'm going to look up the numbers exact. Oh, not me realizing that if the PPC didn't split the vote in Northern Ontario, the Conservatives would have won last time. Interesting. Okay, I can't even find it. Those numbers are tiny. But he would have, okay, so the Freedom Movement was born in Elmer, Ontario, and I remember, I can't find the results, but it wasn't as close as I thought if it was the writing, but still. He probably could go to Elmer, Ontario. Do you know how small Elmer, Ontario is? Malahide, whatever it is. I can't find it on there. I think it's Elgin, but I also don't think we were involved. I thought we were different than Oxford and Elgin, but I digress. It's weird to live in rural Southern Ontario. Let me just say that. But I still think that that's where Maxime Bernier could win. It was, you know where the Church of God was, where the Freedom Movement started? That's where Maxime Bernier could probably take a spot. Now, when I was looking at those numbers, you guys, the three that I stopped and looked at, if the People's Party Canada voted for Conservative instead, the Conservative would have won. How many times did you guys split the vote in 2021? What? I didn't know that many people actually were voting and believed in Maxime Bernier. And I don't mean to be rude or anything, but I just hope that you guys think about over the next couple of weeks that Maxime Bernier has barely been there unless there's going to be cameras there, unless there's some sort of event that is very niche. Like I can only remember him truly being at the Million Man March and not much else. For the past year, how much has he invested in you guys as Canadians, as your candidate? How many rallies has he put on? How many barbecues has he had? Like, has he done anything to engage with you guys to prove that splitting the vote like this is worth another Liberal election? I didn't realize how much that was vote splitting. And I am not somebody who gets mad at people for voting a certain way. I genuinely wouldn't. You guys, that is democracy, okay? But just, I would encourage you guys, if you are voting a PPC voter, I would encourage you guys to think about and look up what's the constitution of the PPC and get back to me. But anyways, just something to think about. Let's talk about Pierre Poilievre's rallies, okay, and the polls. That was in British Columbia. I don't know what else to say other than we all remember what was going on in America. Kamala Harris was leading the polls. I genuinely did not know, as a Canadian looking at it in Canada, I had no idea who was going to win because I follow both. I follow right-leaning creators, left-leaning creators. I stay in the know, and that's how I stay in the know, is that I follow these people. And honestly, unless they're so deranged that they think that if you vote Conservative, you're a horrible person, I will unfollow immediately. But they were very convincing about the polls. And everybody showed up to support Trump. And Canadians have been so discouraged for so long, you guys. I don't know. I can't really find the clips right now because every time Twitter refreshes, I cannot find what I was just looking at. But it was this clip of grown men running and hugging Pierre. And I just can't believe that we're at a point where that's how Canadians feel. I really hope Pierre doesn't let us down. I don't think he will. I am praying, and I am praying for him. I am praying for Canada. Every time I take an ice bath, that is one of my main things that I am praying for, is the state of Canada, because we can no longer afford to go hungry. We can no longer afford to have 4 more years of somebody who wants to destroy Canada, who has been actively making sure that people do not invest here. I am at the point, you guys, where I would rather deal with Trudeau, because the stuff that I have found about Mark Carney, he is responsible for implementing all of these initiatives to a plethora of places. The best way I could describe it is Carney is the puppet master, and Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland have just been going like that. He is the real deal. He is the head of it. There's reasons why he's been connected with Ghislaine Maxwell. I really hope that Canada comes out and supports Pierre Poilievre. You guys need to remember that this is not, oh, he's ahead in the polls and I just don't have to vote. That's not the case. You guys need to get out and vote. You need to get out and vote. And I encourage that of everybody, not just if you're voting for who I'm voting for either. Get out and have your voices heard. I know everybody thinks that it's made up, that it's not real, but it is real. And if you actually go out and vote for who you want to win, you're having your own voice heard, okay? And I know that people think that we live in a place, and I understand that there's been interference, but we need this to be too big to rig. Because I thought they were going to rig that for Kamala Harris, but people came out in droves for Trump because they knew that stuff had to change in their country. And you don't have to agree with Pierre on everything, but please, if you are fearmongered by the media about what Pierre has said, look into it for yourself. They have literally dubbed his voice. There have been times where they have dubbed his voice. Now, I'm not saying Pierre is perfect in the slightest, and I think that it sucks for him that he can't just be like, you know what, I'm gonna, me and Trump are gonna talk things out, because then the media will be... There's so many bots in my TikTok already saying that Pierre Poilievre wants to turn us into a 51st state, even though I can see that future if Mark Carney is in. It's unbelievable. So please have your voices heard. Please go out and vote. Please, okay? This is going to conclude. My day 5 coverage is pretty long, but I hope you guys stayed to watch the whole thing. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will be here tomorrow for day 6 of election coverage. Bye!